It's the morning star drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Thursday, June 3rd, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening today on this wonderful Thursday? We got some coronavirus updates, current news from around the world. Of course, it's question and answer day, and Victory Rhymes by Youngse from South Africa. All right, guys, how are you doing today? After a wonderful, amazing, graceful Wednesday service, you guys must be flying on cloud nine more than anything else. It's almost ending of the week. We're just slowly, the sun is setting on the week, so I hope you really enjoyed not just this week, but the service, just the time you have praying in this, the third day of the prayer condition. So let's get this day started together here on the Morning Star Drive. Just want to remind everyone, please keep liking and commenting, and I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. All right, those of you I had the vlog on Tuesday night. It's going very, very well, and it's really interesting because ever since this prayer condition, even my YouTube channel is doing better right now, and it's gaining a lot more traction too. So I'm like, wow, this prayer stuff really works, because I'm praying for my YouTube channel too. So I'm very, very grateful and thankful that God wants to hear what I really, really want more than anything else. Also, this Sunday, we'll be meeting another member for our Sunday edition. Of course, last week was Laura McFarlane from Australia. She's the AL. Next week, we are going to be meeting someone yes, it's going to be from America, all the way over there in Los Angeles. So be sure tomorrow I'll tell you who it is. It's going to be another member from America in Los Angeles. If you have other people that you want me to interview, go ahead and just text me or comment me, and I'll definitely try to hook up and make sure that they get an interview. All right, so let's get into today's music from our member artists from around the world. Yes, it is an amazing Thursday, so we're going to start with Francis Han from New York. Yes, we just had some great vibes, right? So after hearing that message, we need to digest it. So we're going to start off with something a little bit jazzy. Francis got his own jazz band. He's from New York, and the song is called Astor Place. Second, we have Zeniac from the Paper Music Associates in Korea with Trans-Neptunian Observation. Yes, that is the name of the song, Trans-Neptunian Observation. But oddly as this sounds, if you listen to the music, it sounds like the title. I don't know how, it just sounds like it, guys. Last but not least, we have Mariah Henry from America, and that song is Lost Ones. All right, guys? So just make sure as we're doing this prayer condition for 70 days, we have our prayer topics. Make sure you pray powerfully, pray deeply, and more than anything else, let's just make sure that we can just fit in these member artists so that they can produce more and more content and music so that the message of the gospel can spread around the world.
was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. We stay looking for someone to hold when the right one's standing at your door. Open up your heart and say, I believe in what you say, and I promise you will gain much more. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. 10 years of struggle, 10 years of pain, but I'll finally get to see you no more. Just calling your name. Ones who wonder who, just open up your eyes. He's waiting for you too. He's not a man in disguise. And the hardest cross to bear, but your heart's not what I wear. To think this effort and this love could overcome the dirty stairs. And it's all because of you. Yeah, it's all because of you. Said it's all because of you. Yeah, I need you. For someone to hold when the right one's standing at your door. Open up your heart and say, I believe in what you say, and I promise you will gain much more. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one. Yeah, we're looking for the lost ones. I was a lost one. I found the right one. I found the right one.
And there you go. That was Mariah Henry from America with Lost Ones. Great song there, very deep and meaningful. Before that was Zeniac from the Paper Music Associates in Korea. And tell me, guys, did it sound like the title? Trans-Neptunian Observation. Just oddly enough, it sounds like the title. I don't know why, right? And of course, the feature artist of the day is Francis Han from New York with his jazz band, and that is Astor Place. All right, guys, so let's get into some news for today and what's going on around the world. We'll start off with some coronavirus updates. In the world, 171.9 million cases, 3.5 million deaths at 2.08%. Top 5 countries going by daily infection rates. Interestingly enough, U.S. is back in the picture, 34.1 million cases, 610,000 deaths at 1.78%. India, 28.3 million cases, 335,000 deaths at 1.18%. Brazil, 16.6 million cases, 465,000 deaths at 2.79%. Argentina, 3.8 million cases, 78,000 deaths at 2.06%, and Colombia rounds up the top 5 with 3.4 million cases, 89,000 deaths at 2.6%. Sweden and Belgium both dropped to 1.34 and 2.34% respectively. And now let's take a look at the daily infection rates. And this is where it gets interesting because the US comes back in the mix, but their numbers are crazy low. So let's take a look at India's on top with 133,000 cases in a day. Then Brazil jumps back up to 77,000. Argentina with 35. Colombia with 25,000. And US is still in 5th. Well, yesterday dropped out of the top 5. They were in 5th place with only 12,000 cases in a day, which means that it makes me a little bit more comfortable going to travel to the US, getting vaccinated, and just hanging around with no masks, you know? Back to normal kind of thing. Let's take a look at Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, you know, if you think about this, all these big countries, their numbers are going down, which means Southeast Asia, they're in like the top 10 now. Like all 3 of these countries are pretty high. Well, at least 2 of them. Malaysia, that's 7,100 cases. and then the Philippines at 5,100, and then Indonesia at 4,800. And when it comes to daily infection rates, they're actually not too far off from the top. If the US is at 12,000 in fifth, then Malaysia at 7,100 is actually not too far away. All right, guys, so let's take a look at top 3 news for today. And something's this is going to be something that's going to be adjusting everywhere. And what is this? It is the deaths. Right? The deaths are going to change because a lot of the deaths are not counted, mainly because if you go to poorer countries, what happens is in these poorer countries, people die without the hospital, right? So there's no one actually taking their names or they're not statistically being counted. But one of the ways that they're able to see how many people have actually died is the excess death rate. Right? And those of you who don't know, the excess death rate is, they take a look at the last 4 to 5 years and the average amount of people that die in that country during that period of time. And then they see during the COVID time, how many people actually died, and that's over the excess death. So the regular death rate is just what people normally die from. COVID, the pandemic comes in, they see how many over that regular are actually dying. So we're going to go over to Peru. And what happens is they check the excess death toll, and in one day after they checked it, Peru more than doubles their death toll after a review, right? What does that mean? So now this is a country with the world's highest death rate per capita, according to Johns Hopkins University data. The official death toll is now more than 180,000. And before this review, it was only at 69,000. So it's over 180,000, more than doubled. So this country only has 33 million people. So the Prime Minister, Violeta Bermudez, said the number was increased on the advice of Peruvian and international experts. And this was in line with so-called excess death figures. So excess deaths are a measure of how many more people are dying than would be expected based on the previous few years. And they think it's their duty to make public this updated information. That's what Ms. Bermudez said. The news released on Monday came just 6 days before Peru is set to hold a presidential runoff election between leftist Pedro Castillo and right-wing candidate Keiko Fujimori, which is Japanese. So what went wrong for Peru? So Peru has been one of the worst hit countries in Latin America, resulting in an overstretched healthcare system and a lack of oxygen tanks, and it has registered 1.9 million infections in total. Now, some of the reasons for it being so badly hit include an absence of fridges in people's homes, forcing many households to make frequent trips to markets to shop for food rather than stocking up, and overcrowding in homes and public places. So the president of the Peruvian Medical Federation, he said that the increased toll was not a surprise. So they believe this occurs because the health system doesn't have the necessary conditions to care for patients, and there's been no government support with oxygen, with intensive care beds, and they don't have enough vaccines at the moment. So the first line of care has not been reactivated, and all this makes makes them the first country in the world in mortality, basically per capita. But experts say Peru has also had problems with its testing regime, as it lacks the resources to carry out widespread molecular tests, and which is basically the most reliable type. So in the early days of the pandemic, Peru bought millions of cheap tests from China, most of which were designed to detect virus antibodies, not active cases. That's what the AP reported. And some of these tests have been found by independent analysis to be substandard. Okay, so the criteria for recording COVID deaths has now been broadened beyond people who tested positive for the virus to include probable cases, those with an epidemiological link to a confirmed case, or who present a clinical picture compatible with the disease. So the official number of COVID deaths now, 180,764, which is a huge, more than double increase of less than 70,000. So this makes Peru more than 500 COVID deaths per 100,000, overtaking Hungary that has 300. So in comparison, neighboring Colombia, with a larger population than Peru, has registered 88,000 deaths. Brazil has one of the world's highest death tolls with more than 460,000, but their country has more than 211 million people, right? So that's going to be something we're going to see happen all across the board around the world. That we're going to see most likely numbers are going to inflate, especially in poorer countries. Second thing is about Vietnam. We heard about this new variant in Vietnam, and now because of that new variant that is very highly spreadable, Vietnam is now starting mass testing as new variant emerges. So Vietnam hopes to tackle a new COVID outbreak by mass testing risk groups in Ho Chi Minh City and introducing new social distancing measures. So the efforts come in response to a new cluster linked to a religious mission. So Vietnam has had relative success in controlling the virus, but cases have been rising over the past weeks. And over the weekend, officials warned of a new, very dangerous hybrid variant discovered in the country. The government says the new variant combines features of the mutations first identified in India and the UK and is easily transmissible by air. Overall, the country has registered just over 7,000 infections and 47 deaths, but the latest spike accounts for more than half of the total number of cases, right? So you're saying that like over 3,500 cases are coming from this new one, that just came up. So the latest outbreak in Ho Chi Minh City is centered around a Christian mission, which had seen at least 125 positive cases and accounts for most of the city's infections. And those living in the vicinity of the cluster have already been tested and are in lockdown. Now, officials now plan to test as many as 100,000 people each day, focusing on groups considered to be high risk. And in addition to testing, officials announced new social distancing measures across the city for 15 days, starting from May 31st, which is on Monday. Now, shops and restaurants are closed, religious activities all suspended, all events that gathered more than 10 people in public are banned citywide, but the city is considering to lower the number of people to just 5, the government said. And when the virus first spread beyond China in early 2020, Vietnam acted fast and decisively, closing its borders to almost all travelers except returning citizens. So it then quarantined and tested everyone who entered the country. It also conducted widespread contact tracing and testing. So the government is under pressure to ramp up vaccinations to combat the reemergence of the virus because just over 1 million people, or you could just say 1% of the population, have received at least one dose of the vaccine so far. Okay, so that's what's going on over there in Vietnam. Thank God that they're doing mass testing because of this new variant. Now, last but not least, we're going to go to China. China is very interesting because they report their first human case of the H1N3 bird flu. Okay, so a 41-year-old man in China's eastern province of Jiangsu was hospitalized on April 20th and diagnosed with the H1N3 bird flu. Right? And this is on May 28th, so just last week. So a 41-year-old man in China's eastern province has been confirmed as the first human case of infection with a rare strain of bird flu known as, not H1, it's H10N3. Beijing's National Health Commission has said many different strains of bird flu are present in China and some occasionally infect people, usually those working with poultry, but there is no indication that H10N3 can spread easily in humans. So the man, a resident of the city of Zhenjiang, was admitted to hospital on April 28th and diagnosed with H10N3 on May 28th. And the Health Commission said on Tuesday, basically, it didn't give any details on how the man was infected. So his condition is now stable and he's ready to be discharged. And investigation of his close contacts found no other cases. Right? So no other cases of human infection with H10N3 have been reported globally either, it added. So H10N3 is low pathogenic, which means it causes relatively less severe disease in poultry and is unlikely to cause a large-scale outbreak, right? So the problem now is the patient's exposure is unknown. So the WHO, in a reply to the Reuters news agency in Geneva, said the source of the patient's exposure to the H10N3 virus is unknown at this time, and no other cases have been found in emergency surveillance among the local population. And at this time, there's no indication of human-to-human transmission. So as long as avian influenza viruses circulate in poultry, sporadic infections of avian influenza in humans is not surprising, which is a vivid reminder that the threat of an influenza pandemic is persistent. Right? So just to let you guys know, even in just this year, Russia's had someone human infected. India's had a human infected. I believe there's one more country that's had bird flu infection of a human being. But at the moment, there's no human-to-human transmission, which is the most important thing because it's just coming from an animal and humans are not giving it to other humans, which is like the most important part. So if you look there's only about 160 isolates of the virus were reported in the 40 years to 2018. So they're mostly from wild birds, waterfowl in Asia, and some limited parts of North America, but none has been detected in chickens so far, right? So analyzing the genetic data of the virus will be necessary to determine whether it resembles older viruses or if it's a novel mix of different viruses, okay? So the last human epidemic of bird flu in China occurred in late 2016. We all heard about that one. Continued to 2017. Now is the H7N9, okay? And the H7N9 infected about a little over 1,600 people and killed 616. So that's very, very high mortality rate. That's like 40. That's like 35%, which is crazy. If you imagine that in the coronavirus right now, right? So there's recent activities of avian flu outbreaks in Africa, Eurasia. So there is a lot of surveillance going on in the poultry farms and the wild markets. So that is just to know that during this pandemic, there is chances of other epidemics happening all around the world. And you know what? Just seeing how things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if these other diseases all just started ramping up like crazy, because we've just seen everything happen during this pandemic time. All right, either way, that is the news for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed that, which means it's a time for us to get into something a little bit more spiritual. We got some praise songs for all of us to sing today. We got Today As I Follow the Lord, then The Lord Is By My Side, and then last but not least, we're going to break it down with Holding You in My Embrace. So, as one body of the Morning Star Drive, I hope all of us here can give praise, worship, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
Following the Lord again today, never changing, I have walked this path. I don't look back on the times of old, I don't look back. No, I will not ever look back. Singing the songs of this new history as we serve the Lord we love. There's no regret as we follow this road of providence. History goes round and round again. Providence history repeats again. There's only a thick cloud of grief in the times of old. All that's left is a cloud of grief. The trumpet call of this new history as we think about the Lord. There's no regret as we proclaim and shout out the word. I've been fond of Providence Hill. Just like heaven, I long for it so. The sun shines brightly on the road that I must take, shining on this road to heaven above. The word of truth, the word of true love seeps deep into my soul. There's no regret walking this road now and evermore. The word of truth, the word of true love seeps deep into my soul. There's no regret walking this
saw the Lord was next to me, beside me suddenly. I hadn't seen him come, but then he started speaking, and then my heart was moved, tears started falling too. It wasn't just a dream, he was right next to me, shockingly suddenly. He came and spoke and met me, and so my heart was moved, tears started falling too. It wasn't just a dream.
For so long I waited long, and now once you're here next to me, speaking here beside me, flooded with emotion, I can't help these tears that fall. How is this real? This is a dream come true. These are eternal words, they are the words of life that you give me. And Lord, I promise this to you. I'll keep my faith in you. I'll always love you, taking action just as you have. Love of my life, I miss you.
So many years I've been waiting, staying patient for this word, for the Lord's eternal word of life. And as I confess my love, confess my faith and run, I'll go and act upon all of this eternal love. Cause the person I long to see has come right next to me, shockingly suddenly. He came and spoke and met me, and then my heart was moved, tears started falling too. It wasn't just a dream, he was right next to me.
These are eternal words, they are the words of life that you give me. And Lord, I promise this to you. I'll keep my faith in you. I'll always love you, taking action just as you have. Love of my life, I miss you, Lord. Love of my life, I miss you, Lord. For so long I waited long, and all at once you're here next to me, speaking here beside me, flooded with emotion. I can't help these tears that fall. How is this real? This is a dream come true.
Lord, you've walked along this path alone. It's a path you chose to walk for me. Now I understand the love you have for me. Your love has saved me. I am truly thankful. Lord, I walk along this path with you. It's a path of everlasting joy. I will love you, Lord, and I will never change. And here in Providence, I'll fulfill the rapture. In my soul, I go to meet you and confess how much I want to be here by your side forevermore. Please accept my love, although it falls so short. For my love is true, it lasts eternally. Holding you so tightly in my arms. Can you feel my love for you, Lord? Know that I cannot live without you. I will comfort your
And there you go. That is Holding You in My Embrace. Before that, The Lord is by My Side. And Today As I Follow the Lord. All right, guys, so let's get into today's word study. And of course, it is Thursday, and every Thursday we have question and answer. And very, very good question, especially when it comes to this week's message, right? So those of you who don't know, I do have a Patreon account, and there I do have a lecturer's Q&A. And what I do is I work with other lecturers and other leaders, and we go over the Sunday message once a week, and we go over key points, things that how can we explain this point better to someone else? How are we able to show them that, oh, this is, that make them feel this point more than, when you just hear something, you're just like, hey, pray better. And you're like, oh, you don't really feel it. It doesn't really compel you. You don't know what to do. It's just to pray better. Like, what does that mean? And as leaders, and as members who are studying the word, we have to figure those things out, right? So that's why the Lord gives us the direction, and then we have to figure out what, from that direction, what's the next step that we take, or the how to, okay? So the question was a very, very good one. And like I said, those of you guys who are on Patreon, it should be up by today. And you'll get the whole thing. It's going to be about a good hour, about 3-4 different points. And I'm going to give you one of them today because it was such a good question. And, the message is basically, do not worry, pray. And then the question is, well, all right, so here's the thing is, how do you get people to stop worrying though? You know what I mean? Like, how do you stop worrying? And then the second question came in was, but what about if you have like newcomers, they just came recently, like during the pandemic, okay? So they came recently during the pandemic. They don't have much experience to look back on and say, wow, God's really helped me in the past, so he's gonna help me again. Like, they don't have that absolute confidence in faith, right? So let's take a look at this two-part question. The first question is, how is it that we don't worry? Okay, so how's it we're gonna not worry? So what I like to do usually when it comes to a word study is I like to put it into 4 different parts. Okay, so we're first looking at the answer. The answer, the question is, how are we not going to worry? And, how are we not going to worry at all when it's something that's very, very important? Okay, so here's the thing. The first thing we want to look at is what's the answer going to be. So we look through the message, and the answer, one of the answers that Sunseam did give is, you have to have absolute faith, right? Or absolutely believe that when you pray, God will take care of it, right? So there's the first point. The first point is you need to absolutely believe, have absolute faith that if you pray, God will take care of it. We don't know when, but we know that for sure God is going to take care of it. So there's an answer there. God will take care of it, but you need that absolute faith. So then what I do is now that I know what the answer is, right? The answer is about having absolute faith that God will take care of it, okay? So what I do is I have to figure out if I want to get a newcomer to really start to think about and understand it, I start off with a question that is a bit more general, right? It's a bit more general that will get people to start thinking towards that direction. Okay, so the question comes in is, man, the Bible says in Matthew chapter 6, don't worry, or it's like, there's so many times people are like, don't worry about it, but it's kind of like, it's so easy just to say, don't worry, right? It's an easy thing. Like whenever you come up with a problem, one of the biggest things that people say is, hey, don't worry so much about it, don't worry. And it's very, very easy to say, but when you're in it, it's not so easy as to just stop worrying about it, okay? So, so how would you stop worrying? So there's my question. My question comes up, and now I'm giving all these points. So, hey, how would you stop worrying even though you pray for something, right? And then I bring up all those points I just brought up, like, hey, okay, so let me go from the beginning. Number 1 is the question, how do you stop worrying even though God's going to take care of it? Number 2 is I'm going to start giving suggestions, more questions, or some points that makes the newcomer or the member think more deeply about it, right? So I'd be thinking like, yeah, isn't it hard? So my first question is like, hey, how do you stop worrying about it even after you pray? And then my next thing is, yeah, because, it's still, the problem is still there. You don't know when God's going to do it. And, it's not easy just to say, okay, I'm going to stop worrying. It's like, wow, is that really possible? It's such a hard thing to do. So how do you stop worrying, even though the message is telling us stop worrying? So now I've given you some more points to make you think more deeply about that first question I gave. And now your mind, the mind of the member or the newcomer, is going deeper into that thought. Like, oh, that's so true. How would you stop that? Then the third thing I do is I would give them an answer plus an analogy, a testimony, Bible verse, whatever these things. Okay, so I would give them an answer. So you could do it this way, and I'll say, yeah. So how do you stop worrying? You stop worrying if you trust in someone who has the ability. You're like, what? Yeah, two things matter. When you stop worrying is when you trust in someone, so that you trust that they're going to do something. But the second thing is they need to have the capability of it. Okay? So, for instance, I'll give you a testimony. When I was like 5, 6 years old, my parents were, what happened was me and my brother, we're just kids. We see a motorcycle outside. We're like, oh, we want to ride a motorcycle. So we just got on the motorcycle. We just started jumping up and down on the clutch and everything else. And we broke the clutch. Okay? So now we're in trouble because the guy's like, hey, you broke my clutch, right? And we're like, we're crying and we're so worried, right? They're like, let me speak to your parents. And now we're like, oh my gosh, right? We're going to get in trouble. Mom comes by, sees what we did, looks at us, gives that mom look like, and we're like, oh no. And then she looks at us and says, hey, don't worry. I'll take care of it. Now here's the thing. After you hear your mom say, I'll take care of it, how do you feel? Am I still worried like, oh my gosh? No, because I know that I trust my mom and mom's going to take care of it. And number two is I know she's capable of paying the $500, okay? Which means that, what does that mean? It means that when I look at how I trust in other people, because they're capable and I trust them, right? And because of that, even though my mom hasn't even paid it, she just said to me, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. What do? I stop worrying about it, right? It's very similar when it comes to anything. Like, for instance, imagine something bad happens on a test and then the teacher who's marking the test looks at you and they say, oh, I saw that mistake you made. And like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, no, I'm going to fail the test. And then the teacher looks at you and says, hey, I completely understand the situation. Don't worry, you're not going to fail. But you're kind of like, you didn't even look at the test. You didn't even look at my test. But because the teacher said that they're the one in charge of it, not only if you trust them, but you know they're capable of helping you not fail the test. You know what I mean? So one of the things I'm showing you now is the answer plus an analogy or a story that helps us to understand that key point, which means that it comes down to absolute faith. How much faith do we have in God? Because number one is, do you trust God? And number two is, do you think he has the capability? And those are two things that we'll say, yes, he does. He absolutely does, right? And for us, if God says, I'll take care of it, then we're going to be like, all right, that's good. It's done. It's done, right? And many people will give testimonies. I'll give you a testimony. I talked about this like several months ago. Both my parents, over 65, in the dangerous age range, they both got coronavirus at the same time. I found out about it on a Saturday. I reported it right away. Sunsteam got the report, and 5 days later, they were completely fine, and even the doctor said, go back to work. What does that mean? Well, for me, I'm like, wow, just the report itself, there's no need to be worried. God got the report. And when I give a testimony, people are like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, there's no need to be worried. Why? We reported, to the one God sent. And because I trust and I know that they're capable, I'm not worried about it. Yeah, I'll still pray about it. Say, oh, God, please, help them, this, and this. But you stop worrying about it. Like, oh, God, I know you got the message. Please help them and make sure it heals quickly, right? And one thing we see in that first point is I'm teaching people about the key point of what that problem is how do we stop worrying? Well, in the message, the answer is absolute faith and belief in God, that when you pray, he'll take care of it. Which means that if we absolutely 100% believe God the Almighty, then when I pray about this, God will take care of it, then I shouldn't be worried, right? Because just like the analogy of my mom, she says, oh, Mom, I don't have enough money to buy this Happy Meal. And your mom says, don't worry, honey, I'll take care of it. She hasn't even opened her wallet yet. She hasn't even paid for it yet. And even before it happens, you're already feeling comfortable because your mom, who you trust and is capable, said she would do it. And that's the same way. That's my absolute faith in my parents when it comes to those things, right? If it was like $200 million, obviously, even though I trust my parents, they don't have $200 million, right? And that's something that I would still be worried because I'd be like, where are they going to get $200 million? They're going to rob a bank or something, right? But when it comes to God, we know that he's very, very capable, and we trust that he will listen to those, his brides, right? And especially those who are sincere and really calling out to the Lord. This is something that we really have to understand even better. Okay, so that's the first part. So then now we go to the second part. The second part is, what about newcomers? Right? Newcomers, they've never had the experience with God. They've never prayed and had an experience where God just took care of something. So isn't it going to be harder for them? And the answer is yes, it will be harder. You can't stop that. However, the question is, well, how do we get, then we can't say to not worry because they haven't experienced it yet. So now my question is this. So in my head, the second question is this. Is it possible to get someone to believe without them actually experiencing it? Right? And the answer is absolutely. And you're like, what? But they've never experienced it. How are they going to really believe in it? And I'm like, yeah, people can. Absolutely. He's like, really? How? Well, there's one thing that we can do, and that is testimony. And all of us here, when we hear people's testimonies, are you not inspired, right? We're like, wow, that's amazing. Receive so much grace. It's like after the Sunday message, how many people didn't want to pray? You're like, I want to pray. I've got to pray. I got to start praying right now, right? And we didn't even do anything, right? But from that message, you hear the words and God inspires you, right? Through the testimony of what God is doing. And if newcomers come and they may not have an experience, but imagine if 10, 20 people all around them are telling them these amazing, graceful experiences of prayer and God helping them out, they get inspired too and like, wow, God really is working. Everyone's, wow, I got to trust in God too. And this is how you're able to inspire newcomers who've never had that experience, but they will see it through the people around them. Right? It's the same thing as this. When people are thinking to themselves like, oh, does prayer really work? But if you look at all the people around you, people who have been in Providence for a long time, and you see how they pray and they're like, oh, wow. Then they're inspired because like, look, all these people here around me, their prayers work. Wow, this prayer must work, so I can do it too. People can see it from the people around them, people who've been there before them. And if these people keep testifying and telling people that, wow, this is actually happening, what happens? It basically means that, yeah, if I do this, it's going to happen, right? Why do people come to church sometimes? Because they look at people at church and like, why are these people so happy? There's got to be something about God that makes them all happy. So it makes them curious and interested, and then they start studying the Word because they see the results, right? So that was a very, very good question. I hope that these two questions will help you guys out too when you're explaining to newcomers also. But, a lot of times it's really about catching the key principle, right? When someone says to me, what about newcomers who don't have experience? Then automatically in my head, the principle is it possible for someone who's never experienced to actually be inspired and believe? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Right? And I see it in the examples of my life and other people's lives when it comes to testimony, right? You're always looking for a key principle you're trying to show someone or go against, where they, like when someone says, I don't believe in God because I don't see, right? Then you have to go there, try to break the mold of you don't believe in what you don't see, right? And once you break that, then people are like, oh, that's so true. And then their hearts open and then you can teach them a little bit more, okay? So that is the question and answer for today. If you want more of these things, they're every week on the Patreon website. And that is going to be every week on Thursdays, I believe. Yeah, today, every Thursday. I believe I'll put it up by 4 p.m. Malaysia time. I think by that time around there. But we do this every time, so every week. So if you guys want to have more of these word studies, go ahead and check those out. Okay? So that is the end of that segment of the word study for today on this question and answer Thursday, which means we're going into the song of choice on this boy band Thursday. Yes, I'm going to make Thursdays boy bands. Okay? I know Fridays are musicals, but Thursday we're going straight up boy band, and we're going to go back to my favorite boy band of all time. It is the Backstreet Boys, and this is a song that I have an emotional attachment to because when I was pioneering a church over there in England way back in 2005, we actually made a music video for this. Hilarious, okay? But yeah, one time I'll try to show you guys, but it's really, really funny. Either way, okay? So we're going to listen to Backstreet Boys, my favorite boy band of all time, and this song is called Drowning.
pretend you're sorry. I know you're not. You know you got the power to make me weak inside. And girl, you're leaving me breathless. But it's okay, 'cause you are my survival. Now hear me say, I can't imagine life without your love. And even forever don't seem like long enough. 'Cause every time I breathe I take you in, and my heart beats again. Baby, I can't help it, you keep me drowning in your love. Every time I try to rise above, I'm swept away by love. Baby, I can't help it, keep me drowning in your love. Maybe I'm a drifter, maybe not, 'cause I have known the safety of floating freely in your arms. I don't need another lifeline, it's not for me. It's only you can save me. Oh, can't you see? I can't imagine life without your love. And even forever don't seem like long enough. 'Cause every time I breathe I take you in, and my heart beats again. Baby, I can't help it, you keep me drowning in your love. Every time I try to rise above, I'm swept away by love. Baby, I can't help it, keep me drowning in your love. Go on and pull me under, cover me with dreams, yeah. Love me mouth to mouth now, you know I can't resist. 'Cause you're the air that I breathe. Every time I breathe I take, every time I breathe again, and my heart beats again. Baby, I can't help, keep me drowning in your love. Every time I try to rise above, I'm swept away by love. Baby, I can't help it, keep me drowning in your love. Keep me drowning in your love. Oh, got me drowning, keep me drowning in your love. Baby, I can't help it, can't help it, no, no. Every time I breathe I take you in, I do, and my heart beats again. Oh, baby, baby, I can't help it, and every time I try to rise above, I'm swept away by love. Baby, I can't help it, keep me drowning in your love.
And there you go, Backstreet Boys. Yes, Backstreet's back. All right. I love the Backstreet Boys. I know all the songs, all the lyrics, but either way, that's great. Backstreet Boys are Drowning. Go ahead and give me a like for that one. That's a great song. All right, guys, that is a song of choice for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed that, which means we're getting to the last segment for today on the Thursday. And of course, every single Thursday, we have a special segment, and it is resurrected poetry from the brides and from the Lord of this history. And this is Victory Rhymes with Youngse.
Yo, what's up everyone, and a warm welcome to Victory Rhymes here on the Morning Star Drive. where all the poetic stuff is happening. I am Yongse. I am from South Africa and currently living in Korea, and I am the one running this poetry jam where I just share all kinds of poems and even songs, raps, anything poetic. It's the artsy part here at the end of the Thursday morning star drive, and I hope you're gonna enjoy today's segment. So let's get right into it. This week is a week full of reflection and thanksgiving and really confessing of thankful hearts to God for leading us to God's history, giving us the word that liberated us, that freed us. We have received the word and we've come to know what God's purpose for our lives are, and we can live this really fulfilling, satisfying, great life, following the will of God and fulfilling this deepest love with our beloved Trinity and Lord. So it's such a great week, and our hearts are renewed and with thanksgiving. And we also think, when Alpha Day hits, something in your mind goes off, like this alarm goes off, like, hey, did you notice, like, the year is almost halfway? And so I think it's a really good time to remind ourselves of the goals we wanted to achieve this year, and to think about this year's theme, 영육 새롭게, physically and spiritually in a new way. And at the beginning of this year, being super inspired by the theme of this year, I made a rap entitled 영육 새롭게 to remind me of the heart that I had when I heard that message. Because when I heard that message of 영육 새롭게, we gotta do things in a new way this year, I was super happy, and I really immediately received fire and felt new strength surge into my veins. I was so excited for this year and full of plans and full of hope that I'm gonna renew myself, I'm gonna do things in a new way. And so this rap came about with that kind of heart, so I can remind myself. And I hope today that this rap that I'm gonna share with you will also serve as a reminder to you guys of this year's theme and the heart we had at the beginning. And it's never too late to renew that heart. Right now there's 7 months left. Am I calculating correctly? Yes, 7 months left that we can still do what we want to do this year. We can do things in a new way. We can renew ourselves, our hearts, our minds, the way we do stuff. And I'm sure there are tons of things that you had in mind at the beginning of this year. So I hope as you listen to this rap, you don't only kind of enjoy the beats of bobbing around in your car, but also think of it. I hope those thoughts come to mind and the fire comes to mind once again. So this is a little thingy. This rap it's a rap that I just kind of made on my laptop, but I didn't make the beat myself. I gotta give credits to Mixla, who produces beats, and I found this cool beat on YouTube produced by Mixla, so shout out to Mixla. So I hope you guys enjoy it. 영육 새롭게. Here we go. (2021) 영육 새롭게. From the moment those words just hit my brain, I knew that I cannot remain the same. It set my mind aflame. 영육 새롭게. I'm in the game. All the things I've lost here are dead in the past at last. I'm hoisting up a new mast on my ship that I'll sail. I will prevail. Big changes ahead with the Lord as my head. It starts with my head, it starts with my heart. I will fix what I couldn't even from the start. I'm coming for it, I'll remove it, change into a new self, a new me. Be everything you've ever hoped to see, and we'll make a sweet history. In 2021, I change into the one who resemble you. As we go through the good and the bad, you'll see that I grew into a bride who acts just like you. I'll act just like you. I know as I go, I cannot go slow. Gotta strike, hit hard, even though I face a blow. Gotta let go of anything holding me back and stick to the promises I made on this track. If I don't renew, I'd be the one who never knew what I could have gained, what legacy could have remained. So I'll give it a shot while the word is still hot. Give up, oh no, I will surely not. I'll raise my level, step hard on the pedal. Gotta accelerate, gotta demonstrate what the Lord has taught. I will not let his words just remain a thought. I will not. From the moment those words just hit my brain, I knew that I cannot remain the same. It set my mind aflame. Young youth said okay, I'm in the game. Young youth said okay. It's a new me, a new heart. I won't give up. Yeah, young yuk 새롭게. We're gonna do things in a new way. Gosh, I receive fire, man. I wanna do it. I wanna renew myself, and it's so inspiring to me to think about young yuk 새롭게 because okay, like this thing is frustrating. Oh, this I want to do better. Oh, this I should really fix myself in this area, or I should polish this part of my personality, or this thing isn't working out. Okay, 영육 새롭게, and God has proclaimed that word. So this is the answer this year. 영육 새롭게. Let's think about it again, and I hope today that things can come to mind again, what we want to do in a new way. It's that time of the year to reflect and to evaluate how far we've come, and also give ourselves credit for what we have done in a new way. What have we changed? What have we done in a new way? What have we renewed? Is this something that we could resolve in a new way that we couldn't do before? Let's also reflect on those things, be thankful, and feel the satisfaction for what has been done until now, and renew the fire for what we still want to do. So let's get it, y'all. Okay, I wish you guys the best day ever, and this is all from me. I'm Youngse. Goodbye.
And there you have it. That is Victory Rhymes by Youngse over there in South Africa. Well, in Korea, but from South Africa. Amazing, amazing segment. Thank you so much for your 30th episode, 30 weeks going straight. Thank you so much. That's so amazing. That means, guys, that is the last segment for today's Thursday podcast. Hope you guys really, really enjoyed it. That means one more day left, guys. One more day, then it's Friday. And it's also not only just Friday, it will be the 4th day of the 70-day prayer condition. All right, guys? Everyone have an amazing and awesome Thursday. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on